We welcome Barbara Heidenreich to the program. Good morning, Barbara.
Good morning, Bob.
Now, you don't actually talk to the animals, do you, or do you?
Well, I guess it depends on your perspective. I actually think of animal training as a way to communicate to animals, so I do kind of call it talking, and the way they talk to us is through their body language.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Barbara Heidenreich, who joins us from California, animal training and behavior expert. Of course, we're interested in the exotic animals that you deal with. What are some of them?
Well, I do work with the zoo community, and when I work with the zoo community, we train pretty much everything you can think of in the zoo, and mostly what we train them to do is to cooperate in their own medical care so that we can reduce stress and do a lot of good preventative care and keep them super healthy. And I do work with the companion animal community as well, and typically I work with parrots and rabbits and guinea pigs, and using those same principles we use in the zoos to help solve behavior problems with pets. We can also train them to cooperate in their medical care, and most of all, what I love is that we can help people learn that those unusual, non-traditional pets actually have a lot of personality and can be a lot of fun.
I do want to throw you under the bus because you're from this area, but we do have an animal controversy going on here up in Mayfield. Remember Mayfield? I should say, Barbara, you grew up in Scotia, or partly you spent part of your childhood in Scotia, New York, right?
I sure did. I grew up at 1 Cypress Drive.
No, I was going to say, you and I were trying to figure out how close that was to my house, and I guess you looked on Google Maps or something, about a mile.
Yeah, not very far at all.
Yeah. Well, in Mayfield, do you remember Mayfield? It's on Great Sacandaga Lake and so forth, kind of out in the country, but it's developed over the years. Well, anyway, there's a gentleman who rescues big cats, and he's got, in fact, we just had a news reporter on about this. He has 3 tigers, 2 leopards at his residence. And, he's put up fences and so on and so forth. But the neighbors are beside themselves, and right now they have a court order to order him to move the animals out of that area. And you hear about that. This gentleman, I think, to be fair, has rescued these creatures. But some people just like to keep animals that can be dangerous as pets.
Yeah, actually, that was a big top story in National Geographic this month. They did a whole thing about people keeping exotic pets. You're right, it is a difficult decision because some people are actually doing quite a good job taking care of those animals, and as you said, they might be providing a sanctuary or rescue for unwanted pets. But yeah, there are those folks who probably shouldn't be keeping exotic animals. I'm not really sure how to take care of them to the level they need to make sure that they're safe and healthy. So I agree it's a difficult topic and unfortunately not so black and white all the time.
Well, one thing I heard from the news reporter, Barry Weigel from Time Warner Cable News, was he talked to a neighbor, and this has been going on for a long time. These cats have been there, nothing's happened, but the neighbors realized that the man has made improvements, to keep the big cats in his yard or in his property, but they say, well, what happened? We have a windstorm, knocks down the fence, and the tigers get out or the leopard gets out and so forth.
Well, I certainly hope he has better facilities than that. A windstorm could definitely be a problem, but if he's built them well, that shouldn't affect the conditions there. Yeah, it's a tough one. USDA governs that, so they should be looking at those facilities, in order to allow people to have those animals. And what we do in the industry, I work quite a bit with the bird community, is we actually try to regulate ourselves, if that makes sense. We try to teach each other how to do it to the best level possible so that, no one has a reason to complain. And that's what I always encourage people to do, is to take a look at your practices, compare them, stay in touch with the professional world and see what other people are doing and constantly trying to improve, just so that, of course, the safety of the animals, safety of the public, and, of course, to make sure that the welfare of the animals is taken into consideration.
How did you get into this, Barbara, from Scotia? And of course, I guess you ended up growing up. The rest of your later growing up was in California. How did you get into this field?
Well, fortunately, my parents were very supportive of my interest in animals, and I always remember tromping around in the woods and collecting frogs and putting them in baby carriages when I lived in New York. But that turned into a career with animals. I worked in veterinary hospitals. I studied zoology in college, and I went to work in a zoo after I graduated college, and that's where I actually learned about positive reinforcement training and how it can help us give animals the best lives possible. I did free flight bird shows for many years in zoos, so basically teaching people about birds and what's valuable about them and hopefully appreciating them and caring about them in the wild. But in order to create those shows, we had to find a way to teach a bird to fly back to us. And that's all about positive reinforcement. That's about making it really fun for them to interact with us. And what happened, for years I worked in zoos taking care of lots of different animals, and then I went out on my own about 12 years ago and started my own company so that I could continue consulting with zoos and also help people with their companion animals. All the information we were using in zoos just wasn't reaching the public, and so many people were being told to use these really heavy-handed techniques to train their animals and kind of dominate them, and they were getting behavior problems, things like aggressive behavior and fear responses, and the techniques that I had learned in the zoo community were all about a warm, fuzzy, loving relationship, and so I really wanted to pass that on to people working with their pets at home, and so I turned into a business and started making products and teaching workshops to help people with their pets.
Isn't that interesting? Because another animal topic we have a woman on from 4-H, because she gets a lot of questions this time of year. Imagine you're familiar with the organization. You know, they're primarily in rural areas like this and whatnot, and they have clubs that they raise horses, they raise rabbits, and other farm animals. But so at Easter time, she gets questions from people who want to buy rabbits for the kids. And, then again, she didn't say don't buy rabbits, but, it's a commitment and so forth. And the thought I had, and maybe this is erroneous, let me ask you, it seems to me that, humans have had a relationship with dogs and cats for eons, but with the rabbit, let's say, and the animals you work with, I mean, are they really that as interested in us? You get the sense that dogs and cats kind of it's like we form a little society with them, but is that the same with the other animals?
Well, that's a really good question, because that's what I feel like positive reinforcement training helps you develop. I actually have a rabbit, and I had rabbits when I grew up in New York, and I didn't know so much about training when I was, 14 years old, but now after all these years, I've got this rabbit that is so excited when I come home. I walk into the door and she runs circles around my legs because I spent time training her to do some fun behaviors, and so she thinks I'm the best thing on the planet. And I'm sure anyone that has a house rabbit, is what they call them, the ones that live in the house and not in the hutch in the backyard, knows, there's an amazing relationship. They're a social animal, so they do, enjoy interactions with us if we train them with a soft touch and not this heavy-handed approach. So they're one of those underestimated pets, in my opinion. Granted, I agree you shouldn't run out and buy a rabbit just because it's Easter. I definitely think it's just like any animal in your home. You want to make a responsible choice and decision, look into what it takes to take care of that animal before you bring them into your home, for sure.
Now, you have a lot of DVDs. You produced 7 DVDs, written 2 books about animal training. That's
right. So DVDs that I'll teach you how to train your unusual pets like rabbits and parrots, and I've got a guinea pig DVD coming out soon, and I teach workshops all over. So if people hop on my mailing list, they can keep up with where I am, and if I'm in their town, they can come learn about how to train their unusual pets.
And you have some interesting questions here in your material. Tricks animal trainers use that can help you train your spouse? Now, come on.
Well, here's the beauty of what I teach. It actually applies to all creatures on this planet, whether it's an animal or a human or whatever. We all respond to good stuff, So if we know there's a good consequence at the end of doing this behavior, we're more likely to do it again. And it really works well. So, if your spouse does a good job of picking up their clothes and put them in the hamper, we want to make sure to positively reinforce that so that behavior will happen more often.
I see a great picture of you with penguins on this piece of paper. Where did you encounter the penguins?
Well, those particular penguins are actually in Australia, believe it or not. But one of my best adventures was being on an island in New Zealand with about 400 wild little blue penguins that were all around us at nighttime, wandering up to their nest site to take care of their chicks. So penguins are pretty awesome.
I believe maybe even one of your DVDs, you explain to people how to get your pet on TV to do stupid pet tricks?
Well, I don't have that in a DVD just yet, but I do have a DVD that shows you how to train some of those silly tricks. We kind of think of them as just fun, but in reality, they help you develop a strong relationship with your pet. So things like turning in a circle or maybe waving or doing a retrieve, those are behaviors that you can train in just about one or two sessions that take you maybe 20 minutes per session. And next thing you know, you've got an animal that's going, hey, look what I can do. Helps you connect with your pet, helps you have a great relationship with them, and enhances that human-animal bond. So I do have that in one of my DVDs.
So what's your rabbit's name?
My rabbit is Cool Rockin' Loretta.
Cool Rockin' Loretta.
Cool Rockin' Loretta.
We'll give our best to Loretta, and you have a wonderful day. Your website, is it goodbirdinc.com?
I have goodbirdinc.com, and also if they want to go to Barbara's Fat with 2 F's, which stands for Barbara's Force-Free Animal Training.com, and that'll get them to everything.
Barbara's Fat, but
yep.
Barbara's with an FFAT.
You got it.
Well, Barbara Heidenreich, hello from upstate New York, and you're out in California? Or?
Well, now I'm in Texas, but I went to California right after New York, so yes, I spent some time there.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us, and you have a good day.
All right. Thanks, Bob.
Take care.